Welcome to Keep It Real with Ana and Avarie. Today we've got our amazing guest, Ellie French, KETV sports reporter. Ellie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so excited. I love when I go to events and see you guys there. So now to be able to hop on the podcast is awesome.
I remember when you first sent out your tweet that you were coming to Nebraska. So that was 2021?
Yeah, that was probably like August.
Okay.
Because my first week was the first week of September of 2021. So it's just like time is just flying.
Right?
It's almost April of 2023. It's
and
like,
you've
what?
been here, so that's like it's almost coming up on your third year then, right?
Almost my second.
Almost
my
your second.
Yeah. Which is, like I said, just crazy because I feel like sometimes, like maybe the first year was a little slow just because you're getting used to everything. But the second year has flown by.
Right.
Like how is like we're already on our like third sports season cycle already. It's crazy. So.
And now you know everyone, you built those relationships, so it's a lot easier. But I remember seeing that and being so happy that there was another woman coming because they hadn't really had too many female sports reporters at KTV prior.
Yeah.
I think there might have been one, but
yeah, actually, I think they've tried to hire before, but I'm like the first.
The first like full time.
Yeah. Okay. Which was weird. I remember when Andy told me that because this was like after I was already there. I think he had said that. He was just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like," and he's like, "It's not from lack of trying. Like we've tried to hire, like they've had interviews and stuff." But he's like, "Yeah, you're the first and stuff." And I was like,
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, that's great. And like I said, it's not from them like lack of trying or anything, but it made me just like even more honored because I was already honored to get the job to begin with because I always am just like, me? Like you watched my reel and you wanted me? Like that's crazy. But so that just really added to it and made me excited to just kind of be part of that history even more.
For sure. Avarie, I know you wanted to talk about March Madness because we were both there.
Yeah.
And Ellie, you got to go to the Women's March Madness as well. Yeah. What was that experience like?
So it's crazy because like even just going back to last year, I remember with Creighton women after they beat Iowa, I think it kind of just kicked everything into gear of like, you're going to cover this team now and stuff. And I wish that we like would have gone and been there for the Iowa game when they upset them because that was obviously crazy. But just pivoting back to last year, I remember when they wanted me to cover them and they're like, we'll see what happens. Like they could win the Sweet 16. And then if they do, you'll stay the whole weekend and stuff. And they ended up beating Iowa. Like they were just on a tear. Beating Iowa State was crazy.
Yep.
And then once I saw they had to play South Carolina, though, South Carolina was just like, South Carolina. Dawn Staley is incredible. They just obviously get so much top talent. So I knew it was going to be a challenge for them. But regardless, it was still so fun being part of that because that was my first time ever actually getting to like travel for a trip, like fly to Greensboro and like lug gear around the airport and do all that. But just go and be in a new place and like experience a high level event was great. And then this year it was really cool to go check out because they were at Notre Dame in South Bend. So to make the drive to South Bend, which was an 8-hour drive, surprisingly, because my coworker Matt Foster did the drive to Denver.
Yep.
Did you end up driving or flying?
No, I flew alone, but thank God. It would have been like a nice 8 to 9 hour.
Yeah. He said the stretch in like West Nebraska and then even kind of getting into Colorado because I was like, oh, you probably have like scenic beauty and mountains and stuff. He was just like, no, it wasn't much for a while. And I was like, really?
No. You cross the border and you're like, okay, so when does it change? Like,
exactly.
Colorado sign, like, come on, we need some progress here.
Yeah, you think like instantly, you're like, there's gonna be mountains and trees and like beauty and stuff, and it's like he said there wasn't, so I felt bad for him. But yeah, I drove to South Bend and got to cover them, and that was cool just to see because the way that like South Bend, like Notre Dame, like a lot of their arenas are right by each other. So where the basketball stadium was, the football stadium is literally right next to it. So I would just walk by it every day and I wanted to like go in so bad, but I would just kind of keep and try to see the scoreboard and stuff. And, like I went up to the gate one day to just kind of try and look at some, but it was cool just to see another campus. And obviously like Notre Dame women's basketball like won a national championship. So you could see their banner in the rafters. And so it was cool. It was, I mean, Mississippi State was a tough opponent for Creighton, but just the way that the program, like just even getting there, like they have the chance to maybe make it 3 in a row next year, the first time ever it would happen for the women's pro. So I'm just rooting for them so hard because it's always, I just think it's better when women's basketball is like at a better level.
100%.
Did you guys see each other when you guys were covering the men's, the creighton?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
it was like
Yeah.
sometimes it was just like a hey, what's up? Because they're like,
Oh my
running
gosh, yeah,
around.
it was so chaotic because I was trying to cover pretty much every team. Like obviously I would do the Creighton stuff, but since we're digital, I was like, all right, I'm gonna cover Gonzaga. I'm gonna talk to whoever I can. So I was like really running everywhere, but like the grind that you guys do, and especially I know Channel 6 was there as well, and they do live shots.
Yeah.
And that was like, whoa, like you gotta run out of the arena,
Yeah.
do your live shot, set up, make sure you have a light. You're also alone.
Yeah.
So it was like either Joe or Grace
Yeah.
running outside and doing that, and I was like, you guys are hustling. So
Oh my gosh. Well, you were seriously hustling too. That's why it's like we'd be like, hey, and then it's always chaotic. Obviously, like after games are done because you're just trying to get it.
You're trying to
done.
flip things so fast, and like you guys have
Exactly.
deadlines. I want to get things out as soon as possible too. It's all about the timeliness, and it's
Yeah.
like, all right, it's 11 p.m. Who's
Yeah.
on Twitter right now looking at this? And it's always a grind to get things rolling for sure.
Yeah.
But to your point about women's basketball, I actually just made a TikTok on this about Caitlin Clark and the impact that she's had on women's basketball. It's just so cool to see how many more eyes are on women's basketball this year. And I think this Friday game today between South Carolina and Iowa, it's going to shatter records.
It's gonna be crazy. Honestly, like all these Final Four teams are programs that like generate so much attention, but especially the Iowa South Carolina game because obviously it's like Iowa, Caitlin Clark, like so much national attention. But it's like, how do you forget they're also playing the defending national champs that are undefeated, like their undefeated streak, like dating back to last season.
Yeah.
But I just feel like something's like different about this year's matchup where it's just like Iowa has so much momentum. But it's going to be an interesting play just from the perspective of like Caitlin Clark seeing like how well she's going to be able to go off. But she always finds a way to get it done no matter what.
Yeah, she's ridiculous. I mean, 40-point triple-double. Are you kidding me?
I just I'm like, keep going. Because it's like the more she was adding to it, like I said, the better it was for the game. And just like to see the attention that, you know, like you've got players like Steph Curry and just all these like national big people just really like giving her shout outs and giving like women's hoops shout outs in general too it's awesome to see just the game get more attention that it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the encouraging thing too is like we have to appreciate the spread that social media brings it because like this is the first year, I mean obviously, but like this is the first year that I think I've seen like trending stuff of, I mean, obviously we love Coach Mulkey around here, but like just everything about her, you know, it's on TikTok and like South Carolina coach doing her thing. And like, there's more of a personal approach to the game where I feel like before I just felt like it felt kind of distant. Like we're trying to grow the game, but we don't really know much about it still, if that makes sense. Like, yes, we know basketball, but there's just not much of a personality share on the women's side. And I feel like this is the first year that at least I've seen a drastic change where like, there's been so much more personality. And maybe that's like to NIL to credit too for some.
I was going to say NIL. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, just having more of a platform, but just the stuff I've seen on TikTok or even just like Holly Rose coverage and the videos she brings to it. I just think that everything that encompasses women's basketball has taken a step up this year.
Oh my gosh. Holly Rowe. Like,
I'm saying that name.
Oh,
I've never seen her at a live event, but I'm dying to.
I'm dying to meet her.
I know. I love because she's just so well connected, and especially with basketball.
Yeah,
like I love seeing her post game interviews because they always are just
like hugging her.
They have her arm around her because
she's
so personable, and I'm like, I love that respect that she gets. But it's just so natural too because people just gravitate towards her because she has this personality. And just connect. But I'm like, that is the cutest thing. I love it. Like I love seeing players put their arms around her because she's just such a like.
She's like a motherly figure to like all these basketball players.
Yeah. There was this video that was put on Twitter because I wish I could remember what the name of the award was, but she was nominated for this award and the broadcast she was on like put a little collage together like live. And the beginning of it was like 10 clips of at the end of every single post-game interview, the players were like, thanks, Miss Holly, like hugs. And they kept saying like, thanks, Miss Holly. And I was like, oh, stop it. That's the status I want.
Exactly. I'm like, that's the goal I'm trying to achieve right there. Holly Rose.
I know.
100%. No, she's amazing. And like, talk about a pioneer for women in sports media and just someone that's blazed like paths and trails for every single woman that's come after her. It's been amazing watching her.
Yeah.
And I think back to like when I started, and I want you to think back to when you started too, but just like how much has changed between when you were in college at Penn State to right now. What can you speak to that and how you've seen the game evolve for women?
Well, I think definitely, because what made me want to get in the business is just, I remember like, I think I was sophomore in high school and just was in my kitchen getting ready for school, and ESPN was on, and Hannah Storm was anchoring. And my mom was like, "Oh, if I could do it all over again, like I would love to do that." And like the light bulb just went off. But I remember, like, I feel like it was only really Hannah Storm and like Erin Andrews were the two women that I would see the most. But now it's like any sport I feel like I turn on, and like whether it's like team reporters too, or regional networks or national or stuff, or even like local, seeing on Twitter like all these females in like local TV stations, and they're doing sports and stuff. I'm like, there's just so many now compared to where I'm like, I could only really think of like 2, 3 before and stuff. Lisa Salters, like, but now I'm like, there's just like pages and pages, I feel like, of people where I'm like, oh, I love her work, or I love what she did with this, or I love that and stuff. So yeah, it's evolved tremendously. And I'm like, I want it to be the norm where it's just like a takeover, where it's even more women. Love the men, they do a great job, but I was like, it's so great to see even more women.
It's a sisterhood for sure. Like anytime someone in sports that's a woman reaches out to me, like I automatically have a connection with them, right? Like you just like know you have each other's back, because you know how hard it is in this profession to get to where you are and get to where Avarie and I are, because it's just a little bit harder in a male dominated field, but it's something that I think we can use to our advantage too, and like help each other out and have this sisterhood of not competing and whatnot. And I think that's something that I've definitely learned like over the years. And you talk about Hannah Storm, right?
Yeah.
So my person was Samantha Ponder at the time.
Yeah.
So when she hosted College Game Day, and I've talked to Erin Sorensen about this with Hale Varsity, and she's like, that's funny because like my generation, she's not that much older than me, neither are you, but she's like, it was Erin Andrews, right? And then Samantha Ponder took over, and then Maria Taylor. So she's the girl for the youngest of our generations now. So I think that's so cute. How it just like goes down the line of like ESPN College Game Day host.
It's crazy. And even
like who was your host at your generation? Like that's how we come together now.
Who did you watch on Saturday morning?
What girl was it? Yeah.
Crazy, because Erin's been doing Fox now for so long. It's like you forget that that's what she did, but there's just so many, and they're all so good too. Like I'm always just taking, I'm sure you guys maybe do the same and stuff, but it's like I get more excited sometimes about the post game or the halftime interviews than I do about the actual game. Because I'm like, oh, okay, what are they gonna ask? Like, or are they gonna ask this? I'm like, okay, she did ask this, or like, oh, I like how she did that. I'm always so
100%,
and I'm like mentally and sometimes even actually writing down like what they ask. Because I'm like,
too. I do that every game.
Yeah, I love it. I'm like, I get so excited for it though. I'm like, guys, shh.
Yes, that's me too.
I'm like, I want to listen to the
guys.
I want to listen to the interview. Like,
yeah. So true. Well, I've learned that too, because I found myself getting in a rut of asking similar things or looking for similar things. And I love Chris Budden. I think she does a great job, especially in men's college basketball. And I always found her questions just very different. Like each time, like her word choice, even I was like, see, that's a so much better way to present that question. And so I'm never going to like use that question word for word, but I'm like, instead of asking like, what was better? Why didn't I just say like, what was the difference or something of the sorts? Like, it's not even stealing, whatever, but I love figuring out how people present questions differently. And I love writing them down for that reason. Cause I'm like, if I'm in a rut, I'm like, hey, how do I use a descriptive word that you're like, I need a dictionary here. Just because I feel like you do so many games and you're like, I feel like I've asked the same thing, or like, am I looking for the same thing? Or like, how do I start analyzing this differently? I just love this conversation that we all have like our own little practices, but we all watch someone. We're like, okay, wait, everyone stop what you're doing. We need to know what she said.
Oh yeah.
I have a whole list on my phone, like in my notes app, of just different questions that I've heard different reporters ask. And if I'm like stuck, like what you're talking about, Avarie, I kind of like go through that. I'm like, okay, what can kind of apply here? Because there's just things that you just don't think about asking, and you don't have the same perspective as everyone, obviously. So it's like really interesting how everyone presents differently in post-game interviews. Obviously, you have the simple questions that can work wherever, but I always like to find moments, and that's like my biggest thing of pinpointing a moment in the game or like after the game. Those are always the best answers. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
100% that I found. Like it's always the moments that bring out the smiles and the laughs and stuff.
Right,
But I love learning from other women, like what you said about post-game interviews. I'm always like, don't turn the game off. The game's not over until Aaron Andrews has left the field.
Exactly. Seriously, so many times I've had to be like, shh, or they'll like try to change the channel. Like you said, I'm like, no. Best part.
This is the best part.
The best part for me, at least.
Do you listen to the Calm Down podcast with Aaron and Chris at all?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I listen. Okay, here's the thing. I do a bad job of listening to people's podcasts because I even like the Kelsey brothers. I follow their podcast on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even actually listened to their episodes, but I just see the little snippets, and I love that they did that because they're two of my
geniuses
favorites
too.
And so, but they keep it real too. Keep it real.
Oh, geez.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, do we like
great plug?
They keep it so real just with all the stuff that they say and I think that's what's good is because it's like, obviously we see who they are as sports broadcasters, but they're more than just that. And so I love that they go beyond that, or they talk about like funny little tidbits of like things that have happened to them. And I think like Molly McGrath, I think she talked about like one time how like she like accidentally like picked her skin or something and she was getting ready for a live hit. So she's like bleeding on her skin or something, like getting ready to do like a live hit. She's like, never gonna do that again and stuff. But it's just like crazy things you don't think about where it's like, oh my gosh, like normal human things and they're gonna be on. But I love hearing their little stories about it, or just seeing them go on like little tangents and getting to know them even more because it's like obviously growing up like seeing them on TV, but it's like, no, they're people too with the same like quirks.
100%. It makes me love Aaron and Carissa like even more as people because I always say this, but sports broadcasters spend so much time telling other people's stories, like you forget to tell your own.
Sure.
And like you have to remember that you still have a life outside of sports. You're more than that. So it's like you have to take the time to say who you are. And that's a big reason why Avarie and I started this, literally because of the Calm Down podcast. Like,
oh, I love it.
Shout out.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, shout out to the Calm Down podcast. But we are such huge fans of that and being just yourself, because I think that helps so much in just your career. A question I always love to ask reporters is just, where did you find the line between your personality and bringing it into sports reporting? And like, how do you dance that line of not trying, obviously you want to be respected, you want to be professional and stuff, but how do you find ways to insert your own personality in your work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I just never, I guess maybe in my like first market, because I was trying, just to do a really good job and like get good reps and like be very professional and stuff. Maybe I did stray away from it at times, but I feel like for most of just building the career and like the way I wanted to be on air, I was like, I want to be what like the same person you see on air as like the person you see when you meet me in person. I don't want them to be like, oh, she's very different, And so I'm just embrace being goofy on air and just saying really quirky things sometimes that I'm just like, I'll cringe at later. But in the moment, I'm like, okay, this is me. Like, and I think that's where I'm like, I've just embraced it. And I'm like, I'm just going to be myself and kind of, I treat it as if like, okay, when I'm presenting something, like how it's almost like I'm having a conversation with a friend and stuff. Like I want to talk to them and present it like that instead of trying to be all like professional and be like this and this and stuff, like and try to think of it also like in a unique way too, because it's like everyone could just go on Twitter and see that like a coach said this or a player said this or this is happening and stuff, but it's like how can you like grab someone's attention in a way and make it unique? But I think my thing going into it is I was always just like, just be who you are on TV too, so that way like I said, there's no difference.
Right.
And I feel like that I like being goofy and quirky and adding little things in to say stuff. So yeah, I think I've just always been like, I'm just going to be me, and whoever wants to hire me or wherever, like they've got to accept me for me and stuff. But yeah, so I think that I've never really like struggled with it almost. I've just kind of been like, I'm just going to be myself, I guess.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on your journey a little bit because, like, you haven't just grown up in the Midwest and stayed in the Midwest like me and Ana have so far, like from California to Penn State to Mississippi, and now you're here. Like, how has all that happened so naturally? Like, how'd you get from one thing to the other? What led you to Penn State? Like, I'm just so interested. And you guys spend time. Yeah, you got to spend time. And by the way, I want to go to Duty Noble so bad. It's on my bucket list. So I want to hear about that too. I want to know.
Yes, the dude. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
feel
I
so
want to
bad.
know.
Mississippi State's on like an 18 game.
I saw that.
Sorry, I
I
should
know.
have
Maybe not this year, but like in the future, I want to go.
How does that happen? You win a natty and
just, I don't know. And the thing
come
is,
on.
I don't know. Like, obviously, they lost a lot of talent, but it's like it's Mississippi State still. Like, you should be and there's some guys still from that, like not a whole bunch, but there's
Callum Clark. He's
I
still
know.
on the team.
Yeah, exactly. So, I haven't dug too much into like why, but the SEC is just always stacked with good baseball teams. Like I mean, there's always going to be at least like 3 or 4 maybe that get into CWS. But yeah, as far as my journey, I think I just always knew that this business was probably, especially taking like the local news route, it was going to take me to like some places that I probably would have never lived in my life, or just somewhere like off the beaten path, like away from family and stuff. So I guess when I went to Penn State, I kind of started to think about that. But yeah, as far as like my journey, so I grew up in California for 16 years of my life, and grew up in San Diego. And so that was cool. I never realized like how lucky I was to be there and how perfect of a place it is until you get out of that California bubble. But thankfully for me, like I've really embraced it, because I think some people might think like, oh, when you're so used to living in a place like California where it's just you get all 4 seasons in the whole state and you have like, beautiful weather in San Diego and this and that. It's like you can be like, why is the rest of the world not like this? But I think it was good for me to see like other parts of the country and experience like just different culture and like different things. So I moved to Virginia my junior year of high school, and that was definitely big, like having never had snow days, which was amazing. I love like I mean, it was not amazing from the weather standpoint because I'm a baby when it comes to the cold, but it was amazing as like, getting a call like school's canceled. I was like, wait, what? School's canceled?
It's not 75 and sunny every day.
Yeah, I'm like, this is amazing. So I loved that perspective of it, and just like meeting friends, like my very best friends. I still have really good friends in San Diego, but my core group of friends like are my friends in Virginia, and they're all pretty much still there. And so it's nice for me to like have that core group of friends and have figured that out my junior and senior years. And then school, I just applied to like all the like big broadcasting schools pretty much. Like, Michigan State, my brother went there and they have a decent program, like Syracuse, Indiana, Florida, because Aaron Andrews was in Florida.
There you go.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to go to UF. And like, I didn't end up getting in though. I was like waitlisted or something weird. And I was like, then Penn State. My mom actually grew up in Pennsylvania, and my whole family lives there. So it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, like you're gonna go to Penn State because like some of my family was there, and like I always grew up knowing Penn State. It was more one of those things that kind of just fell into it naturally. But of course, they were static, and it was great because then I got to reconnect with my family in Pennsylvania, because they were only like an hour and a half from State College, so they come up for games or come visit me. That was the best thing, because like my mom's family is amazing. And so, yeah, I just ended up going to Penn State, and they had a great journalism program there. They had classes that were geared towards sports, like a sports writing class. Shout out to my professor, John Affleck. He's such a he just like helped transform my writing so much, and just made me like not think of it as, because I just feel like I'm like, oh, I'm not a writer because I think too much about things and like try to be a perfectionist with writing. And so it takes me forever sometimes. That's why I was like, TV, like you just get it done, like rip the Band-Aid off. But he really helped me look at it in a different way and just become a better writer, and like not just kind of like free flow, like, say what happened. But yeah, my time at Penn State was amazing. They won the Big Ten championship my sophomore year for football and beyond, just even football. Like, Avarie, I know that you guys, hockey was big.
Yeah.
They call it Hockey Valley instead of Happy Valley.
Yep.
Hockey was big there. So that was fun for me to kind of get into hockey. Covered like some soccer, lacrosse was big, wrestling, huge. So that was amazing. I'm super happy. I miss State College so much. I miss the environment. But yeah, so I ended up going there. And then I think it was like after a month after graduating, one of my friends actually at school, he ended up getting the job at the station in Mississippi, like the Monday through Friday guy. And he was like, oh, like we need a weekend anchor and reporter and stuff. And I was like, I became like determined, because there's something about being in the South and the sports there that I was like, oh, that's such a good place to start, just because you're in the heart of like SEC, and New Orleans wasn't too far away, so would give love to like the Saints too, and LSU was doing really well then with Joe Burrow, and so it was just kind of like a perfect area where it's like we were so close to Alabama, we were close to Louisiana and Mississippi and stuff, where you can kind of cover a little bit of everything. But it was a very small town, Mississippi, Meridian. I remember when I went to visit, I was like, wow, there's like not a whole lot here. But I was like, this is what you want to do. And you knew that this is probably where you were going to start and your journey and stuff. And it was amazing, though, from the perspective of just like some of the things that I was able to cover, but more importantly, like just the people that I was able to meet there. Like I'm still friends with like one of the assistant coaches that is on for the high school football teams there, still keep in touch with my coworkers. They were great. And just the community in general was just very welcoming. So living in the South, the deep South was like, it was interesting because I never knew I would end up there, but I'm really thankful for my time there and like being in a small town. And I'm happy that I can like down the road, like hopefully tell my kids and stuff like, oh yeah, I lived here and this is what it was like and all that. And so it was fun. And then, yeah, my last week on the job actually in Mississippi was covering Mississippi State in the Super Regional and then punching their ticket to CWS, which is amazing.
That's crazy.
I was like, I want to go to Omaha. I want to go to Omaha. But it was like my last week and I was going to live in Dallas with my mom for a bit and hadn't gotten a job yet. Like I was still searching, and then just kind of full circle where the job here in Omaha. And I was like, oh, I know Omaha. I was like, okay. And it was amazing to see that it was more than just, and I, know this with like Nebraska and Creighton, and then discovering UNO and seeing like that it was more than just CWS. Like it really is just a whole year round sports cycle in Omaha where it's like you like there's maybe that lull in the summer for a bit, but besides that, like you're go. So I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be busy and go there, and I've loved it.
That's crazy. What was your first like initial reaction to coming to Omaha?
I truly was just so happy to get the job because even when they had flown me out to check out the station, and that was, seeing the station, I was like, this is amazing. And just really getting to meet people, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And just getting the opportunity, like the hotel I was staying at was like right near the ballpark. And so it was cool just to be able to like see the statue. And I was like, I really like the feel of this town. Like I kind of enjoyed that it wasn't like going from a very small town to like a huge city right away. I was like, okay, I'm like, this is a nice like midtown city. And slowly but surely, like throughout my 2 years almost of being here on my days off, like it's been fun for me to just go explore and try new restaurants. And I'm like, I want to even go see more of the state now too, because I just feel like I only know the stretch like of like Lincoln and Omaha, but I'm like, I want to go out and see more of the states and see some of the smaller towns and like really gather what like Nebraska is like. But so far, everyone has been so great, and the food and everything. Like I'm like, need to get my friends out here. I'm like, why? I'm like, guys, come visit me and stuff. And I know it's like kind of far from Virginia, but I'm like, there's stuff to do here. Like we can.
There is a lot to do.
We'll have stuff to do.
Omaha's food scene is so slept on across the nation. I always say that to people. I'm like, Omaha's great food.
And do they look?
Give us your top 5, Anna. I want to know. You have a list.
Top 5 restaurants?
Yeah.
Wow, really on the spot. Number one's Block 16 for sure.
Guys, I haven't been yet.
You got to go to Block 16.
I haven't been yet. I need to.
Yoshitomo Sushi, if you like sushi, very, very good. Let's see. Burgers, besides Block 16, also Stella's and what's that other one? There's one more like off the interstate. Stella's is in like La Vista area, but still counts as Omaha. And then honestly, Moolah's really good for if you want like some street Mexican, and there's some really good Blackstone restaurants, but there's so much. I could go probably on and on about different restaurants, but seriously, like slept on scene. Better than Kansas City, Avery.
Okay. Anyway,
I still need to go to Kansas City.
You haven't been to Kansas City?
I know. I've like obviously like the drive to Louisville. I was like, oh, there's like getting to go by like to see the city and then seeing St. Louis too. I was like, oh, okay. Enough. Like we drove right by like Kauffman Stadium. You could see Arrowhead. Like it was, whoa, and it appeared just like that. Like I was like,
it does. It's literally in the middle of like nowhere. Like it really is in the middle of nowhere.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It was cool. But yeah, I want to go to Kansas City. I'm a big barbecue girl. Like, I'm like, give me a pulled pork sandwich. Give me like give me the baked beans, give me cornbread, give me
Avery's
all
got
that.
recommendations for you. So
I got you. I would say that
they have good barbecue. So I don't claim that here.
I think we're like the reason why I enjoy Omaha too is just because like Omaha feels like a tad bit of a smaller version of Kansas City. Like without the pro sports, like we're very synonymous. Like your two bigger Midwest cities, we're sports towns. Erin Andrews actually said on their podcast, she was, when I go to Kansas City, I feel like I'm going to like a college town for pro sports. And I feel like that feels probably similar, but flip-flopped in Nebraska. I feel like people probably go to Omaha and it feels like a pro sport atmosphere because of how serious everyone takes it. Like, I feel like just the scenes from food, from sports to just being, I don't know, like there's a lot to do when people don't think there's a lot to do. I would say it's a fun place to visit, but I would say it's very similar to Omaha, very similar.
It's on the come up. Casey has the freaking World Cup coming too.
That's I remember that. That's awesome. Good for them. Like that's so cool. I love that. And just the fact that Omaha next year also for like March Madness is hosting
first and second
one of the regionals. Yeah, let's go Omaha.
Too bad Creighton can't be in it.
I know. Right.
How insane would that be if Creighton was in it? It would just be blue.
Yeah, literally.
There would no school would get a single ticket, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just a slight unfair advantage.
It would be very, very unfair.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work. Okay, I also was creeping on your LinkedIn and I saw that you were part of
LinkedIn.
You need to update it.
I totally need
You haven't posted in a while, I realized.
I remember there was like a stretch in college where I was like, LinkedIn is so big, like I got to utilize it. And now I'm like, it's like
I post once a month or so.
Good for you.
But that's not that much. But I saw that you're part of a women's in sports group, like the chapter of it at Penn State, right?
Awesome. Yes.
You were vice president.
Yeah, it was awesome. The Association for Women in Sports Media.
Yes.
Oh, that was really cool. Going back to, like I said, my sports writing teacher, John Affleck, he was actually the professor, like I guess the like head of it. I'm like trying to think of the right word, but he was the head of it. What was it?
Like sponsor, maybe?
Yeah, sponsor. There we go. Words are hard sometimes, guys.
I got you.
Here. Haven't had enough coffee, but so he was like the sponsor for it, and then we also had another gal, Audrey Snyder, who's actually Penn State's writer now for The Athletic. And so when I was joining in it, she was actually transitioning from writing for another place to The Athletic because this is when The Athletic was becoming big. And so I remember talking to her about it, and she was like, yeah, like I'm joining this. And she's amazing. Like not just even for Penn State, but she's just a really good writer in general. So big shout out Audrey Schneider because she does a great job. But yeah, so I was part of the chapter there. I was vice president is it senior year, I think? But just so cool. Like I wish I was involved with it from my the start. I don't think I got into it until like the end of my sophomore year. So I was only really part of it for like 2 years. But even in those 2 years, just getting to be part of it was super cool. Like we won chapter of the year my junior year.
Nice.
So yeah, I was vice president my senior year. We won chapter of the year though, because we had a really great president, Katie Kemmerer, who actually she works for the Chiefs. She does stuff for them and she's
cool.
Loved it. So she's really cool. But just being part of it, we really got to do like a lot of good trips and go like see places. A lot of speakers we had come in was really awesome. Awesome. I feel like I'm plugging everything. It was awesome. So I loved being part of that. It was cool just to be able to be part of a group of women. And then they have a conference every summer. They have a big convention, and I got to go to the one where we won chapter of the year, and that was in Arizona. It was like in Phoenix, which was really cool because Mina Kimes was like one of the speakers.
Oh, love Mina.
Yeah, she was so funny. I love her though, except I'm a 49er fan and she's a Seahawks fan.
Seahawks fan.
And so I'm just like, I love you, Mina, but it's okay, respect. I think she has a Seahawks tattoo.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken. I think. I'm like 80% sure.
She was born in Omaha, fun fact.
Okay, I actually forgot that. That's right.
But she was born here because her dad was like at the Offutt Air Force Base. So she didn't live here very long, but
okay. That's still claim
still
it.
Counts.
Fun fact.
Still claim it.
It still counts.
Yeah. So she was one of the speakers. Beth Moans was there too. Just a lot of like really awesome women, just really prominent women. So it was cool just to like hear from them. But being part of Awesome at Penn State was so cool. Like I said, we took a lot of really cool trips. Had a lot of like Courtney Cronin. I remember she like zoomed in one time. So she is now
I think she was with the Vikings.
She was with the Vikings.
NFL Network, maybe.
I think she's now with Bears. So
the Bears. She does cover the Bears.
Yeah, so she switched.
I follow her. She's awesome.
So she's great. Talking to her. We actually had, and I saw her at in Louisville. We had Dana O'Neill, who's a Penn State alum. She came and talked one time. And she actually wrote a book on kind of the history of the Big East that I read, because I think she released it maybe in the summer of last year. But I just remember it was crazy because in Louisville, you know how they have the podium and everything. So I just someone got the mic and it's Dana O'Neill, the Athletic. And I was like, Dana O'Neill's here? That's so cool. And of course, because we're so busy, I didn't get to talk to her. But she's great. She's a Penn State alum, but she does really good writing. And she's always just covered basketball. She covered a lot of Villanova during their run, but it's just a lot of opportunities, and it's kind of crazy. I remember Lisa Salters came, and she is so small. Lisa Salters is so small, but she's amazing and just so well spoken, and I just love seeing her on TV doing her thing. But yeah, just a lot of really good people that came, and I don't know if I haven't looked to see if Nebraska, UNO, Creighton, I guess I don't know, because Creighton I know doesn't really have a big sports journalism program, but it would be cool. I don't know if they have awesome, but I think I tried
to start it at UNO.
Yeah.
But we have to have 25 members before you start a chapter. So Avarie and I started the Women in Media Club.
So something very similar.
Essentially
what it was,
what it would have been without the title and the affiliation to the chapter, because our sports program was so small. So I really wanted to include everybody in news and reporting, and because not every woman that was in that program wanted to do sports. We don't even have we didn't have a major specifically for sports broadcasting even, so it's hard to differentiate. I would have to literally ask everybody, do you like sports or not? And it was a small pool of us. It was me, Avarie, Alexa Blaze, and maybe one or two other women, but it was a small group of us at UNO.
Good for you guys, though, because I didn't know. I thought that was the case. I thought you guys really spearheaded that. So that's amazing to
It was it was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Women empowerment.
They need more of it at Lincoln too. I think they've been working on it for sure. I mean, Avarie and I did the spring game with them, and it was the first all women's broadcast of a.
I think I remember seeing
KRNU. Yeah, it was sweet. Awesome. Big Ten Network covered it. Megan McEwen. It was a really cool moment too. Wow. It was us, a gal from UNK, and then UNL. So it was it brought the whole school system together too. So I was
that's awesome.
But it also was we need more. We just need more women. So it's
we're not going away, guys.
Right.
Sorry.
It's never enough.
There's always some people that have their thoughts on how can you hear a woman talk about this sport, or I don't want to see this women talk about this and that. And I just think it's one of those things you mentioned earlier, we just got to stick together. This really is a sisterhood, because even when I got the job in Omaha, there was a woman who messaged me and was like, hey, look out for Erin Sorensen. And I was like, oh, okay, is Erin really the only one? And then seeing Erin and meeting you guys, and my friend Lauren that were Grace too, just so many. There's Abby, she works for she helps with On3, Husker Online. There's just so many. And so like you said, it's really a sisterhood, and my face lights up seeing another woman in the room. And I just know that we all naturally can gravitate towards each other.
100%.
And so I just love, like you said, let's build each other up and help each other. And that's what I would definitely want to try to do. Even when my position opened in Mississippi, one of my coworkers, she's like, oh, a girl I went to school with is interested. I'm like, let's get her in. Let's get her in. Let's get her to get the job. So that way we can just kind of keep building from there and stuff. And so I'm like, let's help, funnel the next women to come in and take that spot and do that. So
yeah, we always say if you can see it, you can be it. And you never realize how much seeing another woman in your position helps you growing up. We already mentioned it, watching whoever on College Game Day, you don't realize subconsciously what that does for you as a young girl, and being oh wait, I can do that. Because if you hadn't seen it, you hadn't had those role models, you probably wouldn't be in the spot you are. I know that's true for me, and I'm sure Avarie would say the same. Yeah. It's if you don't have those role models, then it's you don't understand the possibilities. So I love that, and getting more women in the door. And I know you've had Annie Elming come shadow you, and now she's interning with KETV, which I love. She's awesome.
It's great. She's gravitated towards everything very quickly because it's a lot to take in. It's a lot of like running parts and figuring it out. And for someone who like has never been in a local TV setting, like just trying to understand terminology and just kind of the way we do things sometimes is complicated, but like it's not one of those things where it's like I've had to tell her maybe like twice and it's stuck with her and she's understood it and has done it really well. And it's like fun for me to be able to have her go with me to things because I just like love being like, okay, so I just finished recording a stand-up, like now it's your turn. And I love that she always jumps into it though. Like she's never like, oh, I don't know. Like she's always like, yeah, like let me go in and let me like get the reps and let me do that. And so that's fun for me because definitely like getting into the business and stuff is like, I'm like, I want to help, like I want to be out in the community and I definitely want to help like foster the next generation of like people that want to be in sports broadcasting or just local TV and like help them. And so I'm like, it brings me like so much joy helping her with like building a reel. Cause I'm like, I never had someone like that. Like I just did it myself and I just looked at other people's reels and stuff and tried to like base it off that or like ask professors' opinions. But it's like more exciting for me to be like, oh, I think you should put this clip here or like, oh, we got to get you to do this and this. It's like, I'm like, dang, I wish that I would have had someone to help.
Reels are such a never-ending battle of trying to put together your best stuff continuously. I mean, because
that's our resume. It's just like what you see on tape and stuff. And so, and it's interesting because, you know, some people like a reel will jump out to them versus like another person. Like I've just learned in this business, like there's never really like, you never know what's going to happen. Like some people get hired in positions and you're like, oh, I feel like this person maybe would have been better, but it's just one of those things where like it all just kind of happens for a reason and stuff. Like, especially after my first market, like there were jobs where I was like, oh, I feel like so qualified for this. And I was having good conversations and thought I was going to get it and then like didn't end up getting it. But I'm just all like, it's God's plan. Like truly like coming to Omaha was the plan. And this is like where I was supposed to be. And it's just like a whole just part of the journey. So
a little bit like right now, like what does kind of like a day in your life look like for those like unfamiliar with, you know, what local TV and covering local sports looks like?
Yeah.
She's like, which day?
I know. I'm like,
how do I define this one?
Yeah. I think that's why I love the business so much. I'm sure you guys like can relate to. It's just every day is so different. Like, and especially being local, like we have to cover so much. It's not like we're just a team specific or a league specific even. Like we're having to put our hands in so many different things. Like, I mean, Creighton men's basketball season ends next day. Like we're at Husker spring practice. It's like one thing ends, another starts, and you're trying to keep up with so many things. So I just feel like for me, I mean, even beyond like just the job, I try to start my day, which I never was like this. I try to start my day working out. That was just been bad the last couple weeks, but I never was a morning workout person. I actually used to be like, how do people do that? How do they wake up and just work out? I could never understand. But I started working out with my coworker Sarah because I needed someone to push me, and she always did it before work. So I was like, all right, I got to roll out of bed and get to the Y and work out with her. But it helps tremendously, like having someone work out. But yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I've gone to the gym. Just haven't been eating as great too, being on the road.
We've both been gone. I felt the same way. I'm like, oh my God, I need to work out so bad.
I'm like, oh, like I had fried chicken like the first, of course, in Louisville. Like had fried chicken and mac and cheese for dinner, and I was just like, this is the start of something bad. But yeah, so I'll just like try and work out, and then I'll come home and kind of think about like, you know, what do we have going on for the day, and even the night before I'll kind of think about that because we have like a just schedule of like what's happening kind of, you know, the whole month, but especially like the next day. So I'll just think about that and just get ready, and depending on like work, I normally am at work from like 2:00 and then don't leave until like 10:30, sometimes 11. So it's kind of like that 2:30 window to like 10:30, 11 at night is like the schedule. So I'm like a big night owl, obviously, just because I don't get off work till late. And then, but yeah, I try to like not be like, I try to not sleep in. I know some people that are in the business that don't go until late, like they may sleep in like right up to the hour, but I'm definitely a person that likes to get my day started. Like I like to have a cup of coffee, like I said, go work out, like really just kind of enjoy the day. So that way I don't feel like, oh, I just slept in and like all I had to do was go to work and stuff. But yeah, I mean, at this point now, like it's kind of like a little bit of a slow period. So it's been nice just because all the like high school spring sports are starting, baseball season, like Husker football with spring. It's like before you know it, like spring game's going to be here and stuff. But a lot of it is just, like I said, maybe going and doing interviews or like working on a story or going to like shoot a game and then coming back and like putting highlights together, like helping to put the show together and everything. So especially with my role, like I'm just our reporter, like fill-in anchor. So for me, I'm like doing a lot of like going out and being at events or like running and getting interviews or like covering events. And to me, I really was like drawn to this role because I like being out and I like being at the events and I like covering stuff and like doing interviews out there and like getting post-game reaction stuff. Like that's to me fun. Like anchoring is nice sometimes. It's good to get the reps, but it's more fun for me to like be out there and actually be with people and like talk to them and like make those connections, which you get to do a lot more and stuff by being out there. So I've loved the role that I'm in, like just getting to go out and do that. But I don't know if I answered your question very well, but yeah, it's kind of like
100%.
Yeah, that's kind of like the typical day is just, like I try to just enjoy it though and not make work like fully the responsibility like of all my day if that's what it's like filled with. So
totally. I mean, the night owl part, I think we all can relate to just because every game is after work for everybody. So it's like we work reverse schedules and sometimes it's mornings too with like Husker practice or Damon and Andrew do their morning show 7 a.m. to 10 and it's like you still got to pay attention to what happens at night. So it's like really never ending.
I know.
And it's tough because you're always on your phone. Like Isaac just committed to Creighton like right before we started this.
Here,
and I'm like tweeting and I'm like, you're always multitasking and doing something. And it's funny because whenever I'm at events, I don't know why, but like security people always are like, are you ever not looking at your phone? Do they ever tell you that? They're like,
no, actually,
people always say that to me or like make comments. Like adults always make comments to me about that. I'm like, it's my job. Like I really like I legit have to be on my phone right now. But like,
and you're like,
the adults hate it. They're like, why are you looking at? I'm like, I feel like I'm Adam Schefter. I'm like always looking at my phone, like texting somebody or tweeting something out. It's like
Ana Schefter.
It's not. It's nonstop, but it's like a blessing and a curse. But I don't know. How do you feel about the social media?
I feel the same, and I feel bad from the perspective of like I don't get back to people all the time that have like texted me, but yet I'm like, here I am live tweeting and stuff. And I feel so bad because I'm like, they're seeing that. But now, if they're like my good friends or family, they understand. They're like, you're working. Like you are live tweeting is you working. But it's just like you feel so bad because they see it and they're like, oh, she's obviously on her phone. It's like, yeah, I know I am, but I'm literally working. Like I don't even have time to respond to you. I barely have time to like live tweet. So I always feel bad about it from that perspective. But no, we like have to be on our phones because it's just another platform of like, and especially with the world we're living in with just instant stuff. Like, sure, we have to put our stuff together for our newscast later, but it's like we still got to get this information out like instantly on social media and our website and stuff. And then it's like, of course, then we report about it later and put in maybe some more details and stuff. But no, I mean, this is like
it's like half your job.
Literally,
it feels like. I mean, for me, it feels like pretty much my entire job. So it's kind of crazy like how much it's evolved and it's like you can essentially do almost all your work on your phone. It's pretty crazy how it's been, but like you have to keep up too. Like you can't be the person that's like, I'm not gonna have social media. Like that can't exist anymore in like our world of sports reporting. Like it's your brand.
You're gonna miss stuff. Like truly, like the Isaac Trout news, like finding out through Twitter. And then it's like, you get the email later with more of the details and stuff, but it's like that's like how news is breaking.
It's crazy.
Like Adam Schefter and like Woj bombs and stuff. Like they've become a thing. Seriously,
it's ridiculous. Okay, I want to ask, since you're fun and quirky, any funny, quirky, embarrassing moments on TV that you've had?
Oh, I just feel like everything I say is so.
I feel that too.
Like I look back because I hate watching myself back, and I'm like, why? Why did you say that? Why did you do that? But it's just like, just own it. I don't know. Let me think. I don't know.
Throughout your entire career, because I've definitely had moments.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's been anything like where I've done where it's just been like super embarrassing. I don't know. I have to think on that one. I know one thing that was kind of embarrassing that happened. It wasn't even embarrassing. It was more just like, of course, this would happen to me. But for last year's Class A basketball state championship, the boys, I was like getting the trophy shot because that's like the big one. So I was like getting in there, like getting them all celebrating and jumping up and down. And there's a slight drop off at PBA of the court. And we were like jumping up and down. And so I like am, backing up and stuff. And then I literally fell off and like flipped over a chair.
I've seen the video actually. Yeah.
Like, whoa, and stuff. And you've got this massive camera on you. So I just like totally went down and I was like, okay, well, I don't know who, hopefully like not too many people like saw that, but then Tim Cannon, who was their coach, his daughter was like, she was getting the video like of them celebrating and stuff because they're all in the stands behind, and she's like, I don't know if you want it, but like I got you're in the video falling, and I was like, yeah, send it to me, and stuff, which I was fine with just throwing it out on social media. But then of course my boss Andy Kendi has to take it a step further and literally put it on our newscast, and I was just like, really?
That's
really
hilarious.
So, but then everyone saw it. But I think it was good because it really shows like also just the reality of what we like what a lot of us do and stuff. Like we are in there getting the shot and stuff and like truly fighting for our lives.
Dangerous at some points. Yeah.
Like, I look at like even after the Super Bowl or like NBA finals, like World Series, like maybe not so much World Series, but like those scrums and stuff. Like I feel so bad for they're like tight in there.
They're like this,
like Tracy Wolfson, she's so small, and I've seen her be like, like fighting for her life, and the camera guy's like shaking her. It's like it's a jungle out there, truly.
Literally.
So that maybe that one was kind of embarrassing and stuff, but I don't know. I pretty much just own all the embarrassing stuff, I'd say. Especially, I think the most embarrassing things that happen sometimes, it's like even recording this where it's like I'm trying to find the word to say and I literally can't. I'm like,
words are hard.
I'm like, you're not gonna find the word, just abort and don't embarrass yourself even more.
Literally Ellie witnessed it. Well, not kind of, but not really. But I was trying to do like a little selfie stand up their day. I kind of waited till everyone was leaving because just too much was happening. And it wasn't supposed to be overly formal, it was supposed to be really casual. And every single time I started talking, I'd either mess up my word or like a player would walk out of the locker room or like someone walk by and be like, hey, how are you? Like as I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, okay, start over again. Like Ellie had literally gone outside, done her stand up, come back in, and I'm literally still standing there. Like I couldn't find the words. And then of course, I don't know who the coach was. I don't know. I probably should, but it's a whole new coaching staff. So bear with me. But I'm standing there literally mid recording and he's like, hey, like, can I help? Like, let me do it. I'll record it. And I was like, no, you're totally fine. Like, it's just like a selfie. It's just totally casual. Just like the points I picked up from practice today. And he's like, no, I'll do it. So he like grabs the camera, like off my tripod, turns it around. And now I've gone from like a selfie, super casual video to like full on stand up. And I'm like, I told him like, no, you're totally fine. Like you're good. He's like, no, I want to hear you kill it. Let's go. And I'm like, no, I literally don't even have anything. I don't even have anything put together. I'm gonna put clips over it, like whatever. And I like tried to say something and I said Omaha instead of Lincoln. And then I said something else. And I was like, you're good. Like literally you're fine. He's like, no, you're doing great. Like you're literally doing great. And I'm like, okay. All right. Thank you. I literally couldn't say the word. I couldn't. It was like one of those like 40 take days, where like no word came, nothing. He's now recording me and I'm like, oh, okay.
Here we go. That's hilarious.
Like I went outside. I'm like, is that door still open? No one watch me.
You feel so bad because you're like, oh, it's nice that they're like trying to help, but you're like, no, like you're not helping. Like,
and afterward he was like, you got all the right points, like you nailed it. I'm like, it wasn't even about that. It was like that I literally stuttered 10 times throughout the entire presentation.
Exactly. No, but you're right. There's such a balance. It's like some days I'm like one take wonder, and then other days it's like 50 takes. Like you said, I'm like,
literally.
Like I'm like, am I ever going to be consistent?
Yep.
It's just sometimes it happens. Like it can be like there's a lot going on, like with covering March Madness and tight deadlines where you're just like, you have to do one take and that's your one take and that's what it is. I feel like it's almost like you get in trouble when you have all this time. Like that's when I find myself doing like 100 takes because I'm like, oh, I have this time. And then I'm like, I said that weird or like I could have phrased this better. And so I don't know, it's almost like working under pressure sometimes. Like you just are 100%. Like, I just have to do it. And that's that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, of course, I'm like sitting there, like trying to have the backdrop because they moved all the backdrops. I use like the Go Big Red one. Little did I know that door was like where everyone exits. So now this coach is recording me, and like now the guys are like getting in behind him. They're like, whatever, and I'm like, no. This is not the day. This is my first spring practice. Keep going, go.
Oh
that way.
I know how you're feeling though, Avery, because like I said, I think Nebraska had played week 0 my first year, and then I came in for the like first home game, I think, of the season. And I remember getting like, they used to do, I don't know if they'll do it like under rule, but with Frost, they did. So they have your main podium after the game. And then they had like a side post. And so they were like, we're going to have you get the side posts and stuff. And like, I'm like just writing down their numbers because I don't know any of their names yet and stuff. And so then like my boss after is like, okay, who'd you get? And I'm like, number 65. Like, I'm like, I don't know like who it was and stuff, like just trying to put faces to names because I mean the rosters are huge and
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through, and like you know, like you said, we're kind of all in the same boat too, as far as just like remembering the staff and like not.
Yeah.
I mean, even Andy almost forgot Matt Rule's name the other day, I think on the air apparently. So it just
Really?
like it happens with just new faces
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, and you're just so used to saying it over and over again that you're just like, okay, it's Matt Rule. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Scott Matt Rule.
You're like,
Yeah.
geez, okay.
I love Andy so much.
He's like the best boss ever.
He's literally the best.
He's a girl dad too, and it's so fun to me
there you
because he's got 3 daughters, and so I'm like, okay, he tolerates with like just me and some of the mess ups I have sometimes where I'm just like, okay, he's so good about it. Like he never gets mad. He's always like very understanding because he knows that I'm gonna be like mad at myself about it. So he's like, whatever. But the funniest thing to me, was it's just like he always talks about having to go to like dance recitals and like choir and stuff, and he's always just like, oh yeah, like he's off, but he's like, I have to go to this dance thing, but he'll still be like watching the videos on his phones too sometimes. Like he truly is the ultimate girl dad. And I think the funniest moment though, which a lot of people can relate to, was he had to get Taylor Swift tickets for Kansas City for like him, his wife, I think his daughters and his daughters' friends, and he was doing it at work, and it was just like constant like just like what is going on and stuff, and like the credit card declining, and then he's like on the phone with his wife like, did you get through? And then he's on the phone with his daughter, did you get through to get tickets and stuff? And it was just amazing to see how much effort he was putting in to get these Taylor Swift tickets, and just like the frustration I know that a lot of people were dealing with trying to get it.
But he did a segment.
Yeah, he was trying to get, I think, like 6 tickets maybe or something, which is like real tough to get with Taylor Swift. But he got it. But I was just like, because his desk is here and mine is like on the other side, so I was just like kind of like listening and like peeping and stuff, like just kind of
just like yelling at his computer.
I know, he's just like a little slamming in the fist, like, why is this not working? Why is the credit card declining and stuff? And then finally he gets it, and you're like, all is well. We got the Taylor Swift tickets.
What an ultimate dad!
He really
my gosh, that's amazing.
I know. I was like, shout out to him, because I don't know. My dad would just be like, you figure it out. Like, I don't know what to do. But Andy was like so determined. Like, so I think he's going then, obviously. We'll have to see if he's a Swiftie.
Well, we'll have to see some pictures for sure. He better post something.
I know,
if
right?
He's at the Swiftie concert. Okay, well, let's wrap this thing up. Ellie, as you take a drink of your coffee, biggest piece of advice for aspiring young reporters?
Ooh, I feel like I haven't got that question in a while. So, gosh, there's so many things that come to mind. But I think one thing I've told recently, and kind of just goes with this, is it's like, don't ever let someone feel like you don't like have a seat at the table and stuff. Because I mean, we already talked about it. There's a lot of growth too. Like more and more people are getting into this business. And so I feel like sometimes maybe the like younger generation might think, compared with like us, where there's not opportunities anymore, but like, I'm like, just know that you always have a seat at the table too. And like, I definitely mean that for like women too, especially, is because sometimes I feel like they can maybe get like feel intimidated with certain roles or stuff, or make people feel like, oh, like you don't really belong and stuff. But just know, like, you always have a seat at the table, and know that like, if you want something, like just grind for it and work for it until it's yours, or create an opportunity for yourself. I mean, even you guys like at school talking about how there wasn't really a club at UNO for just broadcasting, and you guys even like creating it. Like, I know that there's some people I've seen that like at their school, journalism isn't really a big major, and so they've really taken it and made it their own and like made it even bigger. So I would just say, like, just know you have a spot at the table, and if you want to make something happen, like just work so hard until it does happen, and just keep pushing, and like you'll get it. So I guess that's probably my biggest advice.
Claps for Ellie.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, gosh, like a million things going in my head, but who am I to give advice? I'm like, I need advice, guys.
That's how I feel too. And people ask me for advice, I'm like, you want my advice?
I know. I'm like, okay.
That's
like,
how we all feel though. It's amazing. Ellie, thank you so much for joining. Keep it real. We appreciate you. We'll keep watching out for you. Where can we find you on Twitter, Instagram?
Twitter is Ellie French TV. I think Instagram's just Ellie French. But yeah, I'm on Twitter like 24/7.
There you go.
I'm
Follow
like
her.
My life, truly. So like you said, just the business. But yeah, so Twitter's the biggie for sure.
All right. Well, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.